yeah, our first segment is on Anthony Joshua, and the comments made just over a week ago now by Simon Jordan on TalkSport, talking about Joshua's hunger, and he felt that hunger, that fire in Joshua had come back over the last few fights. Was it 4 wins in a row, I believe, at this point, albeit against relatively undemanding opposition. But his concern was because AJ hadn't been hit back to any great degree in any of those fights. If and when that happens against Daniel Dubois on the 21st of September at Wembley Stadium, it could potentially cause PTSD and cause Joshua's mind to go back to when he was last stopped, the only time he's been stopped as a pro, in the first fight with Andy Ruiz. And his main point, Simon Jordan, was, has AJ really got that hunger back after the back-to-back defeats to Alexander Usyk, or is it more smoke and mirrors because of the opposition that he's been fighting? And then we got some responses to that from the likes of Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. But Eamon, first of all, what did you make of Simon Jordan's point initially?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, the comments Simon Jordan made, I think it was on episode 79 of that Talk Sport Boxing podcast, saying he still thinks with the power Dubois has, there's a possibility that if he detonates and lands on Anthony Joshua, he's going to get that PTSD, as he put it. I take this as Simon saying that the confidence in AJ is fragile. The confidence that AJ has is fragile, and it comes built on a foundation of fighters who are limited in their challenge to different degrees since his comeback from the Usyk defeats. Franklin was a good fighter, not the heaviest of hitters. Helenius was one last paycheck after White was withdrawn. Wallen was a familiar foe, again, not the hardest of hitters. And Ngannou, hard hitter in a MMA sense, limited boxing prowess, and the presentation elevated off of the back of the success he had against a less than stellar Tyson Fury. And now that Dubois enters the fray, where many have spoken of just how hard he can hit, Dubois will or can shatter that and take him back to Ruiz, where he didn't know how to handle it. And for some, they threw it in his face and said he quit. Firstly, could a big shot land from Daniel Dubois or be the spark to be the end of AJ in that fight? Absolutely. But I don't think AJ's response will be to jack it in if AJ does get hit big. He's now experienced, and he'll do what he did against Usyk when he also got hit big. He boxed like he did in the second fight versus Ruiz in light of the KO. And since he's boxed more and reigned in some of that recklessness that cost him so dearly in that fight with Andy Ruiz in America. So, look, I'm not one of those people that will really kind of lump in on AJ and maybe think that he's kind of, whatever AJ does, whatever for good or for bad, he'll always be scrutinized. Simon added as well, posing the question, is he fully recovered from Usyk and this loss of belief? And I can absolutely imagine that he's hurt and still hurt from having defeated everyone you've been in the ring with, to being outclassed several times at points in both fights. That would be a real dent to his ego, his confidence. Really, in my opinion, that confidence only truly comes back when you've beaten that person. AJ will know he's not top of the mountain, cemented by the fact that Usyk is now undisputed, but he's on track to try and get a third crack. But the belief is being built back up not only by the wins in fights that were in his favor for sure, but also to the move from trainer to trainer to now land at Ben Davidson, where he seems more comfortable. A packet of answers, which most famously AJ has had questions for. Infamously, even walking to the ring to fight Usyk, he's asking questions of other people, research and film study, and a real investment from AJ into Davidson style patience, jab up, jab down when your opponent's made a mistake. Then again, conservative, not to throw unless you're a jab's length away. Movements minimal, constant but minimal. He's really invested into that, and I think that's drawn out of the belief, or more so the belief, that he can get there. They've said that they've put out their intent that third time of trying, we've got the answers, we'll beat Usyk. That's AJ's confidence right now. That's where it's been built back up. It won't be fully back up until he goes in against Usyk and beats him for sure. But I truly believe that AJ's got a level of confidence now that even though it's been built up on fragile foundations because of the fighters that he's fought, it sets him up well for a Dubois fight where he already has the credentials, the nous to beat someone like Dubois, someone who's a heavy hitter who he's fought before and had those experiences. I don't think if he gets his first crack that it's going to phase him and he'll jack it in or quit like people have said beforehand. I think he's experienced enough to handle it. I think the belief is getting there. It won't fully be there, not for a while yet, not until there's a... Daniel Dubois will help us instill that belief and desire, because if Daniel Dubois hits and he folds, then you've got your answer right there. Maybe this is the acid test, the chin check test, as has been said there. But no, I'm of the certain belief that AJ should be credited as well for changing his style up and boxing well to still a high level of success. And he's damned if he does, and damned if he doesn't. Whatever in whatever context, people will always scrutinize that. But I do think that AJ won't be reverted back to this state, and he has the skills to handle that moment.
Right, so to the chat, and Lewis Hart, he's back again, says, I have severe depression after last night. Watching this will tip me over the edge. Well, here's hoping, bro, that you don't tip over the edge. Dennis Baktov says, since losing to Usyk, has AJ been in a fight where he has even 40% chance of losing? No, probably not. Although I did fancy Otto Wallin to have a bit of a kind of low-key chance of pulling off the upset. But yeah, maybe not 40% with the bookies, certainly not. Larry Liston says, Dubois is wide open for a right hand. Should be a pretty one-sided win for AJ. Dubois is tough, but I see a late stoppage or clear decision for AJ. Thunder Road points out that Gareth Southgate was born in Watford, like our own Eamon X Khan. I'm not sure if that's a good thing at this current moment or not. Dinero Sparta says AJ in 7 or less. Fewer, surely. Toby Bartlett, Eddie said AJ shouldn't have been in the ring against Ruiz. Greg Bowser says AJ seems a much better fighter under Ben Davidson. That's a bit of a tricky one in my view. I rate Ben Davidson highly as a trainer. However, you've got to compare opposition, and the fights that AJ was taking on before he joined with Ben Davidson and the team in Harlow, he was fighting back-to-back against probably the best, well, certainly he's proved now the best heavyweight in the world today in Alexander Usyk. And I don't think it's fair, really, to compare that against the performances against Jermaine Franklin, Robert Helenius, Francis Ngannou, and Otto Wallin. When we see AJ gets a genuine test, and I think he gets that on September 21st at Wembley against Daniel Dubois, then we can establish if he really is an improved fighter under Ben Davidson. And not only that, I've seen some comments attributed to Ben Davidson on one of the other outlets, not Lewis's, I should point out, where he said he thinks, no disrespect to Daniel Dubois, but if they get everything right, because of the way Dubois' style plays into Joshua's strengths, he thinks it will be done early. So he's kind of set a bit of a high bar for himself there, Ben Davidson, in that if AJ wins but labours, it's going to look like a bit of a disappointment given the pre-fight prediction from his trainer. So we shall see. Nat replied Thunder Road and said, Watford is known for legendary people being born or living there. I'm one of them. Yeah, it's Elton John, was he born in Watford? I know he's the Watford chairman. Was he born there, though, the Rocket Man?
Don't believe so, no.
No? Oh, well, never mind. Ayo Ariki says AJ is a much bigger puncher and boxer than Dubois. Unfortunately, Dubois' dream will be shattered again. I'm assuming he means shattered, but unless AJ is going to talk him into submission. Mark Morris says AJ has always been a top 3 fighter, but Davison has got his confidence back. Yeah, I mean, I think it's part Davison and the team, but I also think it's the quality of opposition that he's been fighting. You know, you fight these kind of fringe heavyweight contenders and get them out of there, particularly the, highlight reel knockout against Francis Ngannou. It's going to imbue AJ with a certain amount of confidence regardless, isn't it? Dennis Baktov says, is Usyk AJ's kryptonite? His movement, output and skills are a level above anyone at heavyweight. Are we underrating AJ's chances against other heavyweights, more his size and speed? Potentially. But then you've got Andy Ruiz, obviously was able to beat Joshua the first time round. He struggled against Klitschko, of course, before pulling it out as well. And that was an aging Klitschko, it's fair to say. So I think there are flaws in AJ. This kind of leads neatly into the poll that we're going to put out. So we're asking you guys in the chat, is Anthony Joshua, and you've got 3 options here, is Anthony Joshua A, in career best form, B, still rebuilding, or C, on the decline? Let us know what you think, because I think, is it smoke and mirrors? Is Usyk making us undervalue AJ? Is the Ben Davidson effect making us overrate AJ? Is he the same fighter he's always been? Is he an improved fighter? Is he, because of age and a number of fights he's had, both amateur and pro? on an unavoidable decline? Let us know what you think in the poll. We'll give you the result at the end of the episode. Mark Morris says, but Valin had never been rocked, never been outclassed, and he didn't even touch AJ. That's a fair point, but what was Valin's best opponent pre-AJ? It was a big step up in class for him. And I thought he had a really good chance based on their respective form coming in. But if you look at their records, he hadn't fought anyone near the class of an Anthony Joshua before. So I guess for every argument, there's an opposite, isn't there? Ramoni Mode XD says, I think it's number 2. He's still rebuilding. Need to see him against the world-class fighter or tough test like the Bois. Dennis Baktov said, would say he's on the decline, but don't think he's declined as much as Tyson Fury. I mean, we can ask a similar question about Fury when we have a Fury-themed episode. Not easy to say.